guys, it's Tuesday. I'm trying to figure out what the date is, 21st of February, and not a whole lot going on. I'm not expecting any body work jobs till probably beginning of next week. Haven't been doing a whole lot. There's just nothing going on. We had a little bit of snow plowing about a week ago, but that's about it. So I did build myself a light tree here, or whatever you want to call it. Looked at it, shot of that real quick. I'm kind of cursed with not enough light in here. I may have more than some of you guys, but yeah, so I built that. I had 3 lights left out of like maybe 10 that one of my buddies gave me, because we got those same lights. I got one on my wall over there, and then 2 over there, and a couple over on that wall. So I needed just a little bit more light to see what's going on. So I built that over the weekend. Basically, it is, let's see if the camera will actually focus. It's just black pipe, bunch of pipe I had laying around with some caster wheels on the front. And then there's the back, a little bit of old angle iron that I had laying around, and there's some rebar in there. And at any rate, I got that, and got this lateral file here. I know it's not really body work, but I'm going to clean this stupid thing up and take it here from my shop and take it back home from my office. So I'm going to DA some of the rust off of that and throw some sealer on it and see what I got in the cabinet I can paint it with that'll match the rest of my stuff in my office. I've got a green countertop for a desktop, so I'm going to see if I have any green. So that's kind of what's going on. Not a whole lot else going on. Been messing around with my Masada 3000 hvlp gun. Last job I did, I was complaining it wasn't shooting my clear the way I liked it, and I had that gun shooting pretty nice. It's got a 1.3 tip in it, and I had the needle or the fluid control backed out maybe 2 turns, 1 3/4, and it seemed to like that. I'm not shooting a high solids clear through it, and it seemed to like less material coming out of it. And I went to shoot this job, and after watching several videos, everybody says, run your fluid all the way out. Well, it's kind of to each their own, but I was just having some issues, and I'm going to test it here in a little bit today. It's got the digital gauge in the handle for the air micrometer, and I'm kind of wondering if that thing didn't go haywire on me. And I was watching it, thinking I had my pressure set where I normally spray, and it was either way high or way low or something. And I was adjusting it on the gun with the built-in air micrometer and trying more pressure, less pressure, and it just kicked my ass all over the place. So neither here nor there. I need to either get that figured out. Had a couple comments that a 1.3 and an hvlp gun is usually a little slow for clear, need a little more fluid. You're probably right. Then again, it's kind of everybody's experience, whether it works one way for you or another way for you. It worked for me before, but why it's not working now, I always try and get my temperature of my metal up in my shop to at least 70, 75 degrees. I walk around with an infrared heat gun and check things before I paint them. But I've also painted when it was 60 degrees in here before with a slow hardener and laid it out like glass. I know it's not, the air temperature's not too hot in here. That's not the issue. Thinking that either that gauge went haywire on me, or I don't know, something happened along the way. I would like to get into a compliant gun instead of hvlp for the clear. That gun sprayed better than my hvlp that I had. I had a finish line gun, one of the, I don't want to say the original finish line guns, but I bought it probably in 2000. So it's a 12-year-old gun. And I started spraying with that. It came with a 1.5 and 1.8 tip. And back in the beginning of my base coat clear coat spraying, I tried spraying with the 1.8 and backed the fluid off, and everything looked like I ran a 3/8 roller down it when I sprayed with that. So I ended up buying a 1.3 for that gun, and that almost seemed like it just wasn't breaking it up enough, and that's why I moved up to the Satajet. So I'm gonna try and figure out what's wrong with that thing today. It's been bugging me. I've blown through, probably a third of a gallon of clear trying to test. I've got a test panel made up. It's a Prius hood here, and I just keep, trying different things. I'll sand it back down 1500, knock all the orange peel out of it. But I mean, it's just like I'm flooding the peel out of it every time I paint it. This time, if the camera will focus, that looks like I threw a handful of sand in it. It's so dry. So I was going back to my original settings of about 1.5 to 2 turns out on the fluid needle, which on a Sada, I don't know if any of you guys know, but 2 1/4 to maybe just a touch over that is wide open for a Satajet, at least for my Satajet. So I'm just trying to get it figured out. A lot of the guys like the Segolas out there said they spray nice. Darren rebuilt his Plus and likes that. But I heard a lot of good things about the Segola, so I emailed Andrea, and I guess the new model of the Segola, that's the 4500 instead of the 4400, is out now, but I don't know if the warehouses are stocking them yet. And apparently, from what I hear, the other ones are done. They're not making that gun anymore. So I just like to get a little more speed into what I'm doing as far as production-wise. When I get something in here, my gun is it's a slow gun, and I can get it to flood the peel out of it to the point where it matches OEM. But irregardless, I'm just waiting to hear back from Andrea and see what she made out on those, to see if she's able to get her hands on those, because I do want to buy a new gun. I want to have a dedicated clear gun. The Satajet 3000 that I'm using, it sprays base like a champ. A metallic control is decent, but what would I know? I don't do this every day. I mean, I've done some difficult colors to spray, and I don't get modeling. And zebra stripes real bad. I've got my technique down pretty decent on that stuff. So just looking to figure out what the heck's going on with that, because like I said, it sprayed nice in the beginning. So enough whining and complaining about that gun. I'm going to play with it here in a minute, and I'm going to get, I got a new DA, I'll go grab that. I'm going to get on that here in a minute and go from there. What I bought a eBay special here. I used Dynabraid. I don't know if the camera will pick that up. It did not have the soft interface pad on it. I took that off my other DA. This one is a finish sander, 3/32 orbit, and put that back up. So I've been playing around with this, seeing how I like it. I have an IR, an Ingersoll, and it's okay. It's a good DA. It hogs through the mud pretty good for me. It's the 5/16 orbit, and it's got me through everything I've ever done. But once I learned about these finishing discs, I decided to get a set for my other sander for those, and I noticed that when the clear is still green, it leaves huge diameter scratches in it, and I'd like to kind of refine that down a little bit. I I don't do a lot of sanding when it's still green, but at this point, the last two things I've done, I didn't have a lot of heat in my shop, so it was a couple days, and I was putting the infrared lamp on it and everything else, and keeping the heat going for 8 or 12 hours at a time, trying to get them to cure. And then once they cured, it sanded great. But the Ranger that I did cut and buff a few sections. I had some dust turds in it, and I put some big pigtails in it. So I had already ordered this, and it came, and I put my 1500 on it, and it knocked them right out. So I really like this. This is a Dynabreed, so I really like that. So at any rate, I'm going to get my other sander out and get working on this and play around with that Sada, and I'll come back and visit you guys in a little bit here and see if I figure anything out with that gun. So I'll catch you in. Alright guys, out of the shadows and back into the shop. I didn't feel like turning on the camera to let you guys sit there and watch me run a DA sander for an hour and a half. So, at any rate, there's that cabinet I started on this morning while I was complaining about my paint gun. I didn't use the Sada to spray that. I'm not putting single stage through my base clear gun. I'll put that through my DeVilbiss. And it shot pretty nice. That was some Napa Crossfire. That is Oliver Tractor, code 99L something 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 something. It's called Meadow Green. And yeah, it turned out good. That was a wham bam, 2 coats of sealer after some 180 on the DA. We'll walk around here in the shadows here, you can't see anything, but my new light works good, so you can see how glossy it is from that side. I thought about being a real chooch and putting some clear in my last coat, but I decided to save that for something more important. This is just going in my office. I have 2 little 2-drawer regular files that are just absolutely full. So I decided to clean this bad boy up. We're going to take her home. Unfortunately, it weighs about 100 pounds, and it's got to go in my upstairs at my house, and I really don't feel like dragging it. And I'm not dragging a dirty 2-wheel cart into my house. So at any rate, that's that. I'll put you guys on the stand here. Phone's ringing, but it doesn't look like anybody I know. Alright. So guys, this is what boredom will get you. Got my Matrix hat. It was on back order in my t-shirt, my tech manual, but no hat. And then all of a sudden I got a package unexpectedly the other day. I almost forgot about it. And a hat showed up, so got a new shop hat. I don't know what else is going on here. I didn't get a chance to mess around with my Sada other than I took the, I'll go get the gun instead of talking about it. You guys have no idea what the heck I'm talking about. Let's get in some light here. Alright. But anyways, with this gun, that's the air micrometer right there. And when it's all the way vertical like that, that's full air. And then there's a 3, a 2, and a 1 notched into the side of it. And what I was doing was chucking the air onto it and going by what this gauge was saying, which in theory would work, but I was cutting my air back with this air micrometer until my air said, depending on what I was spraying, from my notes on what I had written down, what sprays how, with what pressure, and irregardless, I opened this all the way up, and I put a regular high flow regulator down here. This is not high flow. This actually came with the gun when I bought it used, which leads me to believe that this thing may be Bafangoo. So it may work great at full pressure, but maybe it doesn't. So I didn't get a chance to spray. So what I did, I put DeVilbiss high flow regulator on it that I had down here, not this sharp one because there's no gauge on it, and set this wide open, did a full trigger pull, and backed it down until I said 29 psi there, and looked at this gauge and it would say, you know, like 26 or 27, which, I mean, that's not that far off, a pound or two, which for some things, spray metallics may make all the difference, but then again, if you're spraying base coat at almost 30 psi, 10 pounds at the cap, you're moving some material. Not going to do it with that 1.3 tip. I'd be blowing dry spray everywhere. So anyway, I did that, and while I had my trigger pulled, I put my hand out at spraying distance in front of the fan, and it felt nice and soft, and it was feeling like it might have been sort of split in the center of the stream before. It wasn't showing that on paper when I would do a test spray out, but it didn't feel right. So we put this back on it, left the air micrometer wide, you know, full open up here to let full air flow through, and I adjusted it with this until I read, say, 28 or, you know, pick a number, about where I normally would shoot my clear, anywhere from 27 to 29 to give me my 10 psi at the cap. The clear I use says shoot it at 6 to 8 psi, but I've tried spraying it at low psi before, and that might work for like a 1.0 tip, but the 1.3, it's not enough air, it just globs it out. So we did that, and I put my hand in front of the fan again, and it felt like the way the fan felt as far as how hard it was blowing when I had first got the gun. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do about it, but I mean, maybe it's fine, maybe it's just a figment of my imagination, but I'm used to spraying with this gun, and it sprayed clear real nice for me for a while, so it sprays base coat just fine. From what I can tell, the base coat I spray is Metalux. I'll probably get some thumbs down for that. It's the second line of ChemSpec. Of course, they make Montana products and they make a couple other things, but the stuff works good. It's a 2-to-1, 2 parts base to 1 part reducer, and in the 1.3, it's almost a little thick, so sometimes I'll over-reduce it depending on what it is. If it's a metallic, I try not to over-reduce it too much because it ends up, you walk away from it and it models. So, with that being said, I'm going to monkey with this tomorrow on my test hood over there that I've been playing around with, and I'll see if I can find something out. But like I said, I would still like to get a second gun so that this could be my base coat gun and not my base aim clear gun. Not just because I'm lazy and don't want to clean it out, because I'm pretty anal about cleaning my guns. I mean, as you can see, this thing is not covered in paint. It's pretty much, pick the camera up here, but I mean, it's shiny. Right there where the PPS cup adapter goes in, I always make sure that's nice and clean. I don't take the fluid tip out often, and the Sadas have that air distribution ring that's replaceable, and they tell you not to remove it. Once you remove it, you're supposed to replace it. And I doubt the camera will get it, and I'm not going to pull it apart. Let's see if I can get that in the light. See the little notch at the top? That's the air distribution ring. And those things, if you don't watch, if they don't snap into place, you definitely got a problem on your hands, because you screw the fluid tip in and then your air's going wacko. So, at any rate, my camera stand. That's what I got on the agenda for now. Maybe I'll pull the tailgate off my truck and bang some dents out of that thing and clear it, but I was hoping to save my tailgate of my truck for a test panel for a new clear gun. So if that comes about, great, and we'll be able to test it out on that. It doesn't need a lot of body work, so I'm going to play with this tomorrow, and maybe I'll hear a little more about a new clear gun, or maybe I'll find something that strikes my liking, and we'll go from there. Alright guys, have a good day.